Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to Mentor Monday. Mentor Monday is your weekly microdose of encouragement, inspiration, and miracle grow on your potential as a coach. What we always love to do as we start our Mentor Mondays is obviously to hear from you, because it's why we are here, is actually to connect with you, to serve you. And so if you would do me a huge favor, go inside of the chat widget, whether you are on Facebook or YouTube, and let us know that you're here. Tell us where you're joining us from, what you're excited about, where you feel life and momentum in your life. Here's Brenda, who's joining us from Arlington, Virginia. Welcome, Brenda. Michelle, who's in the room, she's joining us from North Carolina. Deborah, joining us from Toronto. Welcome, Deborah. Anybody else that would like to say hello? Just tell us where you are joining us from. Tell us what you're excited about, maybe even some questions that you have tonight, and we can always answer those things for you as well. Make sure that you tell us that you're here. There is Roar Pete, Peace and Blessings from New Jersey. Excited about launching my coaching business. Excellent. And let's see, who else do we need to say hello to? Janae from Arkansas. And let's see, Rosetta from Michigan, welcome. You can either jump into the chat widget inside of YouTube, or you can do that inside of Facebook if you're joining us there. Let's see, who else do I need to say hello to? Jasmine from Erie, Pennsylvania. Kathleen, who's joining us from, Tiffany from SoCal, glad to be here, awesome. Elise from Atlanta. Kathleen is joining us from British Columbia, Canada. Welcome. Anybody else I'd like to say hello to us really quickly? Blessings, everyone. Audrey from Roanoke, Virginia. Excited about the new beginnings. Love it. Chris joining us from Indiana. Michelle says, I am excited about new clientele and website. Michelle, I saw that email. Our staff handed it over to me, and so excited that Michelle she has no more room. Like, she has all the clients that she can take right now. Isn't that an amazing problem? So way to go, Michelle. That's amazing. Anybody else that would like to say hello to us really quickly as we're about to begin? Anyone? All right. Well, I will look back at it in a moment. For everybody else who is on time, I want to honor your time and jump in because, it's only 5:15 on the West Coast, but some of you troopers are joining us at 8:15 at night where you are, and I'm so impressed with that. Thank you so much for that. What the series has been focused on for really the last couple of weeks is things that will haunt your coaching practice. And obviously, this is the month where all kinds of scary things kind of suddenly become the focus of everybody. Scary movies, scary stories, and everything else. And honestly, there's been so many years that I have been working with coaches that I think that I know all of the coaching horror stories at this point. It's kind of gotten to this point where I don't really hear new horror stories. Maybe there's some new ones out there, but I don't really hear any new horror stories. What I'm really in the job of and in the role of and I'm tasked with is to actually help you prevent the horror stories that could potentially happen in your business, because I know a lot of you are aspiring coaches or you have just begun launching your coaching practice. And what I see though is a lot of coaches making the same common mistakes. And if I can save you the pain and the trouble and obviously the horror, then I want to be able to do that. So last week, if you missed last week, we talked about 5 clients that you should never try to coach. This week, we're talking about another thing that's going to haunt your coaching practice. And it's the simple fact that the average coach has zero strategy to get clients. Here's the way the average coach goes about starting their business. They feel like, and this is what I think is a good sign, somebody either came to them and said, you should be a coach. Like, I could see you doing being a coach. You usually hear that a lot. Or you hear people say that you're such a good listener, or you give great advice, or whatever. There's a lot of different things that I think that what happens in our life is that people start making us aware of our calling. A lot of times people recognize it in us and call it out of us. Or some of you, it's the passion in life is that you found is being able to help people get to the next level. come in, you can see the greatness in people and you're able to help them draw that out of themselves. And it's amazing kinds of things. This is a great sign that it's a calling on your life. It really is. So what a lot of coaches do, they're like, well, what do I need to do to get trained, get legal, or whatever their thought process is on it. And so there's a lot of research that's done. And usually what a lot of coaches will do is that they'll read a number of books, they'll check out a bunch of websites, they'll check out YouTube videos on things, they'll start shopping programs, and sometimes they'll find us, which most of the time they will, because we're ranked really high in Google for a reason, because we are the largest life coach training program in North America, if you guys didn't know that. So it's pretty easy to find us, right? But the problem is that when people try to find us, they usually are asking all of the wrong questions. Like, I understand that you want to ask questions about curriculum and some of those kinds of things, but those are kind of minor details. Because the reality is that once you get trained and certified as a coach, that your coaching business is actually 10% the skills that you learned as a coach. It's 90% business. And what a lot of coaches think is that they're going to go and get trained from a certain program, or they're looking for some kind of brand recognition or something like that. And they think that that's the golden ticket to getting clients. It's simply, I got certified as a coach, and does anybody want to coach? Does anybody need a coach? And that's what I'll see a lot of coaches doing when they start out, because they don't recognize the fact that they actually need a strategy to attract clients into their business. And so this is a pretty common thing. And so what happens in a lot of cases is that a lot of coaches find us after they've spent thousands of dollars going through another program. They'll find us because they're looking for the what and the how to get clients, because we're one of the few schools that actually sees that as a major role. We're not just into teaching you coaching proficiency. I want you to have a six-figure coaching practice. That is my heart, and I think that it's within reason. I don't think it's an unreasonable thing. I think we can help people do that. But you have to recognize in your own life as a coach is that you're going to have a strategy in order to do this. And what I think is that it's a twofold strategy, and it's not rocket science, but it's a twofold strategy to be able to do that. But let me help you understand some things right here on the front end, because it's important for you to understand, first of all, philosophically, all people, rich, poor, uber successful, struggling, creative geniuses, etc. I don't know if you know this, but every one of these different types, and you can go down the line of any celebrity business person, any guru, anybody who's out there, one thing that I can tell you, whether you know a person who is struggling or is at the pinnacle of success in any field, in any area, all people are equal in these two things right here. And it's what you have to understand. Everyone right now, hearing my voice, breathing on the planet, walking around, they are equal in two things, and it's time and choice. Now, I know some of you would probably say, well, let me argue that point, because I know this particular country. I know this. We're not really talking about those things. We're talking about in Western civilization, in Western culture, that every one of us, it doesn't matter how old or young you are, you get these two things every day, and you get to choose what you do with them. You actually have time as a luxury in your life to spend any way that you want to. So if anybody ever tells me that they don't have time, I don't have time to start a coaching practice, I don't have time for that, what they're really saying is that's not a priority for me in my life right now. I always correct people when they say things like that. Oh, I'm so sorry. I've been wanting to do this, but I've just been really busy. Why don't you just tell the truth? Why don't you just say that's not a priority in your life right now? It's not what's most important in your life. But don't tell people you don't have time when you are the person who is the owner of your time. And you also have the power of choice. Every one of us has those things. What we have to do with that, first of all, now, I know you guys are waiting on a strategy, but I have to help you understand this, because if you won't grasp this, then it doesn't matter what the strategy is, right? Because the question really is are you a master of your time, or are you a servant of your time? And quite honestly, the vast majority of people that I know, like almost everybody, is a servant of time instead of a master of it. I don't think, again, that creating a coaching practice, launching a coaching practice. Matter of fact, if I showed you the numbers, it's astounding. Do you know that the average first-year coach in the United States is making $60,000 a year and they're only working 13 hours a week? That's the averages that I'm telling you about. Now, thankfully, our coaches at Life Coach Training Institute are making more money, the ones who are going through our Jumpstart program. We talk a lot about how you have personal value for yourself, how you do all of those things. And so they're actually doing better than that because I really teach people a lot about value and worth and all of those things when it comes to fees and every one of those things. And so what we have to understand is that it really doesn't take a lot of time to run a successful coaching practice, but it does require a few things. Here's what it really requires. First of all, it requires a strategy. We're going to talk about those two parts in just a second. You have to have a strategy. If you have no strategy for how you're going to get clients, and you wouldn't believe the astounded look on people's face that, they're all excited because I got my certificate and now I'm going to set up a website. Now, where's everybody at? Like, how am I supposed to get clients now? It's almost like it's an afterthought. No, it should be your primary thought. It should be what you think about most, quite frankly. And so it's not rocket science, and it doesn't take a lot of time, but it does take a strategy. It also takes consistent action. Unfortunately, a lot of coaches that I meet them and they're very excited. They're very much people if I talk to the average coach, they say, I'm a people person. I love people. I love helping people. I love talking to people. But one of the things that a lot of coaches actually lack out of the gate is consistency. They actually lack discipline in their life. And so since they don't have discipline in their life, what they don't realize is that it actually takes consistent action in your life to get what you want. It takes consistent action. So what's happened on a few different occasions is I've had coaches who, they're trying to figure out what they're doing in their business. And I had one person contact me and they're like, I'm trying to get clients on Facebook right now. And I keep posting and I'm not getting, I just don't think that this is working. I keep posting on Facebook. No one wants to work with me. And I'm like, okay, would you send me a link to your Facebook? So they sent me a link to their Facebook, and I'm not exaggerating this at all. I go on their Facebook. They have 17 people following them. Probably 2 of those people are their parents. That's probably the reality of it. They have 17 people following them. They had set up their Facebook 3 or 4 weeks before, and they had posted 3 times. And then the 3 times was like, I just got certified as a coach. Yeah. And they show a picture of their certificate. And the next post, which is a week or so later, hey, does anybody want to coach? Anybody need a coach? I can coach you. And they made a sum total of 3 posts just like that. And then it was just okay, does any business actually get done like that in the world? Hey, if any business was that easy, if I was that lazy, because that's what I would really say, if I'm that lazy about my life, then I'm not going to be consistent, because here's the reality. It's 3 posts over the course of weeks. And even the 17 people, including your mom and your dad, probably didn't even see the post. I mean, that's the reality of it, but there's no consistency. They're going to post once, one day, 3 days later, they're going to post something and then not post anything for 10 days later. That's not consistency. That's not a consistent action. Matter of fact, it shows me that this person has no strategy and doesn't know how business is actually transacted in the world. So it's going to take consistency. It's a thing that I see missing in most coaches, is that they do not have consistency. The third thing is it's productivity. Because again, it doesn't take a lot of time, but what it does mean is that you've got to look in your life with what time you do have. I understand it. Many of you are working full-time jobs and you have families. I was one of those people. I can take your excuse away from you pretty much immediately, because when I started my business, we did not have a second income coming. My wife had major chronic health issues. I had to keep the job that I was in. It was barely taking care of most of our bills. But if you live in California, the reality is that it was taking the first check and part of the second check that I got per month to pay our rent. That's how much money it was taking. And it was a real struggle. It was like, I don't even know how we made it. And when I started my coaching practice, my wife had major chronic health issues. I'd already taken a job that was going to allow me to be home at 4:30 every day and be off on the weekends. Now, I had to settle for that job as far as it was less of a demand, but the reality is that I needed to get, I was willing to like spin signs or do whatever to make ends meet, but I wasn't going to be able to work another 20 or 30 hours a week on top of my regular job. What it meant for me is that I had to learn to be a master of my time and just be really productive. Well, you know what makes you productive? You have a strategy. Also means that when you know what you're supposed to be doing, you take consistent action every time that you're supposed to be doing something, you follow through with it. You keep your promises to yourself. The time that you've set aside, you protect it. You treat it as sacred. So I would actually give up sleep to get up really, really early in the morning to coach a client, or to get up super early in the morning to go to a networking group. I'd coach one client that I had during my lunch break at work. I had another client that was around the corner we would meet at a Starbucks, and I would coach them. It was around the corner from my house. There's all of these different ways. And you know what? When I coached a client at 5:00 in the morning at a coffee place on Saturdays, and I was done and I got home, I had some time for myself, and then my kids would wake up, and then I could be there for my wife and everything else. Like, I want you to know that I've walked this out. I've lived this life. And so what I can do really easily, I can do two things. I can steal your excuses, while at the same time as I can give you hope that this can actually be done. It's about you becoming a master of your time. And how you become a master of your time is that you have a strategy in place and you keep your promises, that whatever you're supposed to be working on. See, you've got to do the right work, right? You don't just do a bunch of random stuff. You actually do the right things in order to attract the clients that you want. Here's the fourth thing, is that you have to understand that, again, it doesn't take a lot of time to run a successful coaching practice, but it does require a choice to be made. And some of you haven't made that choice yet. You're still flirting around with coaching, but you're still in procrastination. Like, your fear is still actually making choices for you. Earlier in the week, I had a former client of mine that I was listening to some of the things that they were saying. And they've had a lot of things go on within their business and everything else that are post-COVID kinds of things, that they really need to make some major changes in their business. But they've been doing their business for probably 30 years. I mean, like, they've really been doing this thing for a really long time. And I've listened to them from a distance about, they know that it's about time to do something. And they even talk about communicating some stuff that they know that they want and that they probably need to do and everything else. And it was funny because I'm sitting there listening, and a friend of mine heard them talking, and they were like, I like what they're having to say. Like, I think that they're about to go to the next level of their business or whatever. And I was like, well, they could when they make a choice. Because I knew this person well enough. I could hear in their voice, they hadn't actually decided yet. When you decide, you burn your bridges. You know what you do as well when you, and I'm not saying burn your bridges with people. I'm saying that you choose to move forward. It is a committed, irrevocable decision. And now this is the only path that's going to move forward. I'm going to go in this direction. And see, the reality is that I realized that person hadn't come to that yet. How do I know that? Because the results are the same in their life, what they're doing. And maybe they're trying to give themselves pep talk and give their company pep talk or whatever. But the reality is that they haven't actually chosen. And until they do, life's going to look exactly the same way. This means that in your life, you've got to actually choose. Part of your whole choosing is that you're going to have to count the cost. Like, there's work involved. There's time involved. It doesn't cost a bunch of money to start a coaching practice. It doesn't even require a whole lot of time to do it or anything else. But you've got to count the costs. You want to sleep in? And see, all of us are sacrificing something right now. That's why it's important for you to count the costs. It's because every one of us are sacrificing. Like, either right now, you're sacrificing in your life, which right now is more about time than anything, being committed to things, you're making a sacrifice either for that to do better, to get the kind of life that you believe that you deserve, or you are sacrificing that dream for staying comfortable, staying where you are, staying safe. And the reality is that if anything has taught us anything, there is no certainty in the world except for the certainty that you create in your life. I would much rather be an entrepreneur and be able to control my destiny than to put my destiny out there for anybody else to be cut at a whim. This is one of those times. Like, I don't think that this is a hopeless time. I think this is a very hopeful time. I mean, the last year and a half of my life, I know it's been a weird COVID world and everything else, has been amazing. It has been astounding. It's been incredible. The opportunities that are afforded to us right now that probably did not even exist a year and a half ago. But it's all about what you focus on and what you look at. And the reality is that you've got to change. Like, you've actually got to make a decision that involves change in your life, have the right strategy, and have consistent action that proves that you're doing something that actually moves you towards it. Now, successful coaches really focus on these two primary strategies. I'd say that if you're a successful coach, you're doing these two things starting out of the gate. They're really simple. Strategy one is just this. It's making initial contact with prospective clients. You know, that's not complicated. It's meeting people. It's making a connection. You can do that locally in traditional networking and go to places and meet people. And depending on where you live, like we live in California and things are reasonably open, but they're not like crazy open. Like we have some coaches that are in Florida that you'd never even know that there was ever a pandemic because they are just doing life as normal and they're having networking groups and they're doing everything business as usual there. Texas might be another place where things are quite a bit more open. It all still exists. People still have to gather. There's still people who are out there. So the first strategy that we have to employ in our business is we have to actually spend time making contact with people. You just got to meet people. You got to make a connection with people. And when I say that you've got to make a connection with people, that you've got to get out and actually meet people, what I want you to know, these two primary strategies are 90% of the time that you're going to be spending in your business. So if you've got 10 hours out of your week to work on your business, 9 of that time should not be you sitting around trying to write an ebook. 9 out of 10 hours should be spent, first of all, making initial contact with people. Now, part of that initial contact is going to be people that you know. Part of that initial contact is going to be people who know who your ideal clients are. They're in a relationship with them. So some of these people are not your prospective clients. Some of the people who end up in the network with you are in your network are going to be people who can open the doors for your business. That's what we have to really understand. So we have to get out of our mind. If you're going to launch a coaching practice, you've got to start out meeting people, making an initial connection with people, exchange of information, those kinds of things. Now, some of you might want to say, well, Paul, I'm an introvert. I don't want to get out there meeting people. And here's what I would say to that. I'm an introvert as well. I know I got a loud voice. I know I'm on camera right now. Doesn't mean I'm not an introvert. As soon as I'm peopling, I'm dead for days. Somebody shows up at my house and I don't know who they are. I never answer the phone. I don't even look out the window. You know what I do? I get on my phone and I look at our security camera to see when they're going to leave. I tell the kids, shh, I don't want to answer the door. My wife's like, why aren't you answering the door, you weirdo? I was like, cause there's somebody out there that I don't know and I'm going to have to meet them and have an awkward conversation or whatever. I'm like, I don't like that. Or when somebody calls me, I don't answer. You introverts know what I'm talking about. Somebody calls you, you don't answer that phone unless you're emotionally prepared for it. Even on text, you leave it on unread until you're emotionally prepared to be able to open up your phone, and because you'll know that they'll see that you read their text and then they'll know that you didn't respond to them, right? So that's how we negotiate those things. But here's the thing. When it comes to my destiny, when it comes to my business, my personality, whatever profile, and I know some people are all in on these Enneagrams and all this other stuff. Listen, my personality has to take a back seat to the calling and destiny on my life. I can't allow my introversion to keep me from leading people, challenging people, helping them step into what they were made for. I'm sorry, it has to take a back seat. So sometimes that means getting a little bit uncomfortable. Sometimes it means that you're going to have to sacrifice until and get a perspective. Like, I had to change the perspective on how I even went out and started networking with people. Like, I had to get excited about meeting people, about what their future was going to be. Like, I had to completely change and get the eyes off of myself and look at the individuals and look at the opportunity. And I had to make that the focus. See, it would be the joy of what's is going to come helps me get through the sacrifice that I actually need to make to do whatever I need to do. Strategy number 1 involves making initial contact with prospective clients. You're going to do that. Some of you are going to do that through social media. And here's the thing about social media. We did an Instagram training here recently. I'll give you one little tidbit that's worth a lot of money right now to grow your Instagram following. Some of you are like, well, I want to get clients through Instagram. Awesome. You want to do that? You know what that means? It means you're going to have to spend some time on there. 9 out of 10 hours of your time every week is going to be spent on Instagram, following up, making connections with people. That's what you're going to do. Do you know how many posts you need to make to grow your Instagram? It's not going to be 1 post. It's not going to be 2 posts. It's not going to be 3 posts. Matter of fact, if you're just doing a handful of posts on Instagram, the best you're going to do is probably losing followers. If you do like 5 to 8 a week, you're going to barely maintain if you do that. If you want to actually grow your Instagram, you know that you have to make over 20 posts a week. You do. It's simple. It's simple understanding of how social media works. Have you ever seen anybody flipping through Instagram? They might flip through hundreds or thousands of things while they're sitting there. There's a lot out there. And so what that means is that it's fine. You can do that and you can actually be really successful, but you need to bring a consistent game and you need to actually have a strategy for it, that I'm on here to make an initial contact with people and I'm willing to put in the work. If you're going to try to spend 10 hours trying to make a post for one thing, you wasted way too much of your time doing that. You need to actually be committed to wherever your people group is. If it's on Facebook, be committed there. If it's at a networking group at your town, Chamber of Commerce, be committed, be there. Actually be there and initiate contact and then have a follow-up plan, because that's what strategy 2 really is. Strategy 2 is that now that you've connected with people, you've met them, you've got to nurture the relationship with the people that are your prospective clients. Whoever those people are, the people that you've met and your prospective clients. Now, my job is every week, my strategy actually is, how am I going to follow up? How am I going to connect with these people? How can I serve these people? Dream about them. Ask questions. How can I serve you? There's got to be a follow-up process. And nurturing a relationship, think about it in any human relationship. If you want to date someone, let's say you go to a coffee shop and you see a barista and you're single and you're attracted to that person and you're interested in them, they're not going to remember you because you went in there and you gave them a $2 tip. Sorry, they're not going to remember that. They're not going to remember necessarily that you went and bought coffee one time there. They may not remember if you go in there and you only buy coffee once a week. What it might mean for them in that scenario is that you show up to buy coffee and that you are a consistent face and a consistent voice in their life. And it has to go past just being a customer. Like, I actually have to talk to them, right? I'm not going to go up there and say, I just can't believe that person hasn't asked me out on a date. I mean, I went and bought coffee there 3 days ago and I haven't heard anything from them. You know how ridiculous that sounds? Well, how ridiculous is it for a coach who sets up an Instagram and they make a couple of posts and they're like, oh, Paul, I don't know why it's not working. I don't know why I don't have clients. Think about it like dating. We have to be willing to actually develop a relationship with people. There's a lot of reasons why people may not be dating you out of your Instagram. Maybe they don't know who you are. Maybe they never even paid any attention. Maybe they saw a post. Maybe they don't even know that they're following you anymore. Maybe they all of a sudden they hear from you 6 months later because you're not a regular on there. Have you ever asked a question of them? Do you know what their desires are? Do you know what their likes are? Do you know how you can serve them? All of those kinds of things. See, the very things that we would do as human beings to somebody who is interested, that we're interested in, at a coffee shop. I'm going to be a consistent face. I'm going to ask questions. Before I ask them out on a date, I'm going to actually get to know them, and I'm going to serve them. And I'm just going to be, some cases, a friendly face, an encouraging face, a presence in their life. I want to become a person that's significant in their life. They need to be able to see in me that, like, if I'm going into a coffee shop to meet somebody in that way and I'm following up and I've got to show interest in them. I'm not going to ask them out on a date because they might think that they could think I'm a serial killer, but I'm going to show interest and I'm going to serve them until there is a certain time when I can say, hey, can I get your phone number? Hey, would it be possible that we have coffee sometime or something like that? Like, you show interest. See, it's the same way when it comes to nurturing a relationship with people. That means if you're on social media, how I nurture that is that I continue making posts in a way that serves them, that builds trust, that builds likability, that shows a certain level of expertise. Same way if I had somebody in a Facebook group. Same way if they're on my email list. And at a certain point, I'm going to ask people, hey, can I get your email? Can I get your phone number? Would you mind if I followed up with you? Would you mind? And so this is the way that it goes. It's appropriate level calls to action towards those things. But you got to have a strategy. Like, you actually have to implement a strategy and be willing to put your emotions aside, put any of these thoughts about how overwhelming it's going to be to create a 6-figure coaching practice or whatever. Listen, when I started out as a coach, no one gave me any tools. Nobody gave me any ideas. The only marketing stuff that I got from one of the companies, only one company that I went and got trained and certified through in their program, even gave me any marketing stuff. And it was the biggest bunch of worthless garbage I've ever seen in my life. Like, you'd never be able to get a client with the stuff that they gave you. And it showed me that most of these people who are teaching coaching are actually not really good at business. Matter of fact, most of the coaches who are out there getting trained and certified don't even mimic what they do, because they're not getting clients because they don't know what they're doing, because they don't really have a strategy. That's why you've got to actually have this in your life every week, 90% of your time. For those of you who are trying to do this through social media, this is a daily activity, at least 5 days out of the week. You've got to make contact. You've got to initiate contact with people, and you've got to nurture the relationship. You post, everything that you post has got to be about building trust. It's about building likability, and it's about serving them. It's not, do you want to be a client? Do you want to hire a coach? Do you want to be a client? That's never going to happen. That's you walking into a coffee shop and trying to get a date the first time that you see somebody who's cute. But when we understand that relationship is the part, now I will call people to action when it's appropriate. But I have to every day in my life, just like for you guys. I mean, it's important for you to know that as a school, we're always asking these questions. Hey, how can I serve you? We're always trying to create stuff. We have free workshops. I go live on a Monday. I'm always in a dialogue with coaches all over the world. I field most of my conversations during the week are with aspiring coaches or people who want to be coaches. And those conversations end up being the impetus for everything that we create, for everything that we talk about, for every graphic we put on our website. Every one of those things are about who our ideal client is. And, and for us, as far as Life Coach Training Institute, it's for aspiring coaches. We know who they are. Everything that we create is for a very specific group of people, and we're always in communication and always trying to serve them. This is who you've got to be. You got to have these two strategies in place, or you can't build a 6-figure practice. And you've got to begin as soon as you can. Hey, I want to talk to you about something new. And when I say something new, it's because we've only offered it a couple of times at Life Coach Training Institute. Last December, because I've always had, at least since we started certifying coaches years ago, I've had a lot of coaches that have come to us and said, do you guys have an advanced level of certification? And we kind of toyed around with the idea, and I was like, yeah, it's coming at some point or whatever. What we really focused on in our advanced skills training is two things. One is to give you some tools that after all of these years, because a lot of times coaches will come to me and like, hey, I'm struggling with breakthrough in certain areas. My client has bad belief systems and everything else. And we did launch a boot camp program that went way beyond what we were teaching in our life coach certification course. But those were still very much beginner, basic training kinds of things, right? But we had a lot of coaches coming to us and they're like, man, my clients are stuck and they've got imposter syndrome and all of this other stuff. Like, what can I do with that? And so what we really decided is not just to provide new training, but we wanted to give advanced training that also upgraded your credentials as well. And so we created last year advanced skills training where you can earn a certified professional coach credential. So your CPC. Here's what you can expect. It's coming up at the end of the month. If you didn't see that date, it's October 29th and 30th. So it's a Friday night and it's an all-day Saturday. What you can expect? Well, it's live. It's 10 plus hours online. It's interactive. It's an interactive event. And what we're doing is that we're going into the source of belief systems. And we're showing you strategies for how you can help your clients overcome limits and maximize your potential. See, really what we have operating in us is a master system. And it's really composed of three parts. There's three primary drivers that function in the system. We identify those things and we help you, and we give you tools that can help you unlock and get barriers out of the way really quickly. These are the tools that I've used as a coach for all of these years, but we never really offered them to brand new coaches because brand new coaches wouldn't know what to do. So boot camp is a prerequisite for this because I believe that you would be lost in advanced skills training if you haven't gotten boot camp out of the way. If you've not gotten trained and certified yet, you cannot take advanced skills training. So get your certification out of the way first, get that out of the way before you start thinking about advanced skills training. But for those of you who have gotten trained and certified through us and have gone through boot camp, this is for you. So a lot of sticking places that these tools are really designed to help you address. Imposter syndrome is when people feel like they're a fraud. Bad money beliefs, perfectionism, self-sabotage, which is a very normal thing. Lies like I'm not enough. Irrational fears like no one would ever pay me to do what I love. We give you breakthrough skills where you can pinpoint a client's limiting beliefs. Brain hacks, because one of the things that we really focus on in the first night of training is all the brain science, like the science of where belief systems come from, how the brain actually functions, but actually how we can actually shift the brain to start working with us instead of working against us. And so we really help you pinpoint those things, and you'll get tools that can actually help people do that. Also, people can grow in self-worth. They can eliminate procrastination out of their life. They can conquer irrational fears. A formula that we teach you over that weekend is how do you unlock someone's maximum potential. When you learn this formula, it's going to absolutely blow your mind. Here's what's included in the weekend. It's 10 hours worth of live training. It's streamed live to your computer, laptop, tablet, or mobile device. It's a $19.95 value. We give you breakthrough tools because what's important through that weekend in the way that the weekend is designed is not me just up there talking about stuff. We talk about it. We give you the tools. You actually practice utilizing the tool. And then we go live as you've got these break times and these little breakout times to be able to work on these things. We come back and we want to actually utilize the tool so that you see how they work. And here's the cool thing is you get to use a lot of these tools on yourself because some of you need your own breakthrough. And that happens for our coaches as this weekend is progressing. The tools alone are worth $497. You are going to earn a CPC credential. It's a distinction of being a credentialed, certified professional coach. And obviously that's going to make you more marketable as well. The cost is only $247. This is not a racket. We try to make everything that we do affordable, and we take all of your excuses away. It's fully online. It's live. It's a Friday night, and it's an all-day Saturday. If you can't make it live, we record all of the sessions, and you have access to all of those things for the next 90 days. So you have access to all the replays, and you get a brand new certificate. Yeah, like awesome, right? So that is coming up October 29th and 30th, and there's actually a link inside the description for Jumpstart. But if you go on our main page, we actually have a link If you go to courses.ilifecoachtraining.com, you can actually see the page that's there, and you can get enrolled for it. Matter of fact, I'll stick a link inside of the comments. That way we're for sure that you guys have it. Any questions that you guys have for us before we head out for the day? And I want to look at some of our comments, but if you look inside the comments right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick that link for advanced skills training inside of the comments, and then you guys can for sure get that. Let me say hello to a few people. Albert, who's joining us from Reston, Virginia. I'm very familiar with that. Santos, how's it going, Santos? Robin, how's it going? Santos says, Master Coach Paul is a heck of a coach. I appreciate that. Thank you. And Santos also says that he enjoyed boot camp. Thank you. Xavier says, wow, 20 posts on Instagram per week. Yes. And that's an overwhelming thought for some people. But if that is your mode where you're going to actually connect, meet people, serve them, nurture that relationship, then it's not really that overwhelming. And I will say, inside of our Jumpstart program, there is a course inside there for people who want to just build their Instagram following. And it's not nearly as tedious. There's actually some real hacks and some simple things that you can do to get a lot of content so that you're not like killing yourself trying to create content all the time. Awesome. And there's Lynn said, just had a conversation with someone the other day that we choose to make time for the things that we make a priority. Absolutely. It's awesome. Hey, there's Juan. I haven't seen you in a while, Juan. Happy to make it this evening. Thanks for facilitating. Thank you, Juan. I appreciate that. Darlene joining us from North Carolina. North Carolina is representing. You know who else is representing? Canada. There's Marilyn joining us from Vancouver. Welcome. Michelle says, excited for advanced skills training. Hey, there's Tammy. Hey, how's it going, Tammy? Xavier from San Diego. Awesome. There's Marcia. Welcome, Marcia. Awesome. Any questions that anybody has before we head out? Xavier says, non-coaching question. I see you're wearing a wedding ring. What's your other ring? My other ring is actually a Templar's cross. And the reason why I wear it is because my family is all from Bethlehem. And this isn't in my family crest, but it's something that's very dear to my heart. My family immigrated, I think in 1912 or something like that. And they immigrated through Ellis Island right out of Bethlehem. And you know, they had to start from scratch, which was hard because like my great grandfather actually died in a short period of time after they had immigrated. So there's my grandmother primarily speaking Arabic that had, I think, 6 kids to raise. And I mean, it was a lot of challenges and everything else, but this is why I wear this. And my cousin has the exact same ring. And so every time that I put this on, I remind myself of the sacrifices that my family made to give us a chance, to give us a start. So I'm first generation that was born in this country because my dad was ended up as my great grandparents, but then there was some moving around and stuff, so that my dad was actually 8 years old when he came to the States. So I was the first generation born in this country. So every time I put it on, there's no excuses. This is what it reminds me of you know, my grandmother who did some of the who I don't think that she had an education past 7th or 8th grade, if that. And what she did, she was the first woman in management in Sears and Roebuck, which used to be a major company. So there's a lot of people who went before me, and I wear this to always honor them and to remember that it doesn't come cheap, you know, that we make sacrifices, and I have to honor them to live the best life that I possibly can. And so thank you for asking that question. That was awesome. Toronto, yes, welcome. Tammy says, I've already signed up for advanced skills training. Thank you. Let's see. Janae says, I'm struggling to create my about me section of my website. Do you have suggestions on what should be included and what should we leave out? Well, it's really easy to write an about me. The way that you write an about me is write it in terms of your ideal client. So once you've determined what who your target market is and who your niche is, write it in terms of them. So it's not so much about you and your story and your credentials and everything else. You write your story, everything biographically and everything else. You're writing it as a guide. Sometimes for many of you, your ideal client is you. Like the people that you're trying to serve was you maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or whatever. And so the transformation that you've gotten in your life, you can write it in context of those people. So an about me, the easy thing is that you're really writing an about you for your ideal client. Just connect your story to theirs. Just don't make it extensive. Like the easy thing of what you keep and what you leave out is that what we need to build, what we have to understand and about me has to be written like this. I want to earn trust with this person. I want to be likable. I want to build rapport and show a certain level of expertise. So I'm not trying to come off like I've got everything together and like I'm perfect. I need to show that I have a story. Every great story means that, we might have been defeated for a while. We might have had character issues. We might have had broken. Like I'm very real about my story. I tell everybody my story about the struggles that we had with my wife being sick. We had a lot of tragedy around our family. I lost everything. Like we literally lost everything. I legit had a 400 credit score and I'm trying to start a business, take care of my family. There's all of these things. Everything in my story, in many cases, is worse than a lot of other people's stories, as far as the start is concerned, right? We all come from that. We all have some kind of a story that can connect, that humanizes us. It makes it where people feel like, oh, I actually get this person. They do know. They've walked in my shoes before. That's the kind of story that we want to tell. Just don't make it more than like 500 to 1,000 words. It doesn't need to be pages and pages long. We write it in a way that connects us to that person. If it connects us with that person, and the best way that we can do that is have people review it, have people give feedback, especially if you can find your ideal client and let them give you feedback on what you've written, and that can be really helpful. Let's see. You are welcome, Xavier. Bart, you didn't know that? Bart has known me for quite a while. How did you not know that? What part did you not know? Did you not know that I have an Arabic last name that nobody can pronounce? Or did you think that my family was from the Flintstones? I don't know. Stephanie says, I do not know if I previously paid for advanced skills training. Is there a way to find out? And how much do you charge to take it again? Well, here's what I would say is just contact the school. Just send an email to admin@ilifecoachtraining.com. And then they can tell you if you've done it before or whatever. So awesome. All right. Any other questions before we head out for the day? All right. I'm going to assume that is it. One last time, there is a link to advanced skills training inside of the comments. If you've not gotten trained and certified as a coach, let me also remind you of this. We do have a Jumpstart program. It's only $97 out of pocket to get access to every program that we offer except for advanced skills training. Training, certification, branding, brand camp, our A to Z business development roadmap, everything that we offer outside of advanced skills training. For any of you who are thinking about it, that's the cost of Starbucks. It's $3.25 a day. You can get enrolled in any of our programs in 90 seconds, and you can begin because you get instant access. Listen, I appreciate you guys all immensely, and you are so welcome. I appreciate you. Have a great rest of your week and take care.